Good morning. I was at Camp Atra last week. I just got home last night. Some people thought I wasn't going to be here today. And when they saw me, it was like I was Christ walking on the water and they thought they saw a ghost. That's not what my sermon's about. My sermon is about camp, however, because frankly, I have stuff that I need to write and say about it, and I want to work on it now before it's gone. And this is my first opportunity, and this is what I'm going to do then. First of all, you know, and I've said it many times, how much I support church camps, summer camps, and sending our children to summer camps. We've had kids from our parish going to a whole host of summer camps. Antiochian Village, Camp Nazareth, St. Tikhon's Camp, Camp Vatra, some other ones, Shaylin, the Serbian camp. So we have a long history in our camp in our church of campers, and it really is a valuable experience for them. But it's also a valuable experience for staff, for those who go to teach or to serve, or to just help out in whatever way, even just to drive their kids and spend some time there. And so the title of this sermon/article is Lessons That I Learned and Relearned at Summer Camp this year. Because every time I go, I learn something, and some years I have to relearn things. And in no particular order. Yesterday, there was a long discussion at the final event about the cup being half empty and the cup being half full. How one of the camp directors tends to be more pessimistic and sees the cup half empty, and the other one tries to be optimistic and sees the cup half full. And they talked about that experience and how that relates to how they felt about how certain things went, or what went well or didn't go so well. I'm one of those obnoxious people who, whenever presented with two options, always picks the third. You know, the Kobayashi Maru kind of situation for you Trekkies. My answer is the cup is simultaneously empty and full halfway at the same time. Of course, isn't that obvious? And that's the lesson that I learned too from camp. First is, when you recognize that the cup is half empty, that is to say, the children that have been brought to you are not quite up to snuff with maybe what their Christian formation should be. Of course, that's what summer camp is there to help provide, but nonetheless, you can't help but wonder what's going on at home with some of these kids. Being half empty is not necessarily a bad thing, because that means there's room for improvement. There's room for growth. There's a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum, and human nature abhors a spiritual vacuum. And so when we receive kids at summer camp that don't necessarily know a whole lot, or don't even know how to conduct themselves, who maybe lack fundamental etiquette issues. My favorite story was some kid, the most troublesome kid of the camp, I was told, when he first came into church and saw the bishop sitting at the throne, he said, "What's up, Master Chief?" That's horrible, but I can't help laughing. That's not respectful behavior at all. But you know, he was just frankly profoundly ignorant. I mean, so you had to be a little bit forgiving. The second thing is, being half full is sometimes not always a good thing. Because, well, the cup is half full. Well, you know what? Some people can get satisfied with that and say, well, good enough. But that's not necessarily the good thing. So I don't know if being an optimist in that sense is always the best answer. When we see the cup half full, sometimes we're blinded to see the emptiness that we're there to fill, and that can be filled by Christ through the camp experience. I'll tell you, it's those troublesome kids that often do the most spiritual growing at camp. The ones that I actually really worry about. They were talking about, some of the directors saying how they cry for some of these kids because they don't seem to have a brain between their ears, that kind of thing. But I worry for the ones that don't cause any trouble, that don't say anything, that are just kind of like a lump on the log. Because I don't know if they're getting anything. They're not causing any trouble, they're not showing up on the radar, but are they actually getting anything? Is anything happening inside of them? So I worry more for the cup half full types. And I think that we need to make sure that just because we're not hearing any noise doesn't mean that there's not a problem. Maybe they're just completely disengaged or disinterested. Maybe they are struggling in ways that don't show. Maybe they're not acting out publicly, but maybe they're acting out privately and you don't know what kind of struggle they're having. So reaching out even to the quiet ones is an important part of the ministry of a church camp, and making sure they're not missed out. And that's why I don't like chewing out the troublesome kids all the time, because it actually reinforces the behavior. It actually tells them, you'll get all the attention if you act like a moron. And I don't want them to do that. The second lesson that I'd like to share is the diocese is important. I don't say it enough, and when I say it, it's it's too little too late usually. But I want to say it today. To be in a diocese is an important thing. To be part of a diocese as part of your parish life is important. And it's a hard sell for me to tell to all of you, because our diocesan headquarters is in Michigan. And we maybe see our bishop once, if we're lucky, twice a year. And there's not too much happening on a diocesan level locally for us. But those church camps and the events that take place are fantastic opportunities for at least some of us, if it can't be all of us, to grow spiritually as part of a diocese experience. Because Christian life is multidimensional. I don't mean this in a Star Trek fashion either. There's the one axis of your local experience. And you can have an experience within your own parish, and it can be very nice and fulfilling and wonderful. But I encourage you to go beyond just that and know your local community of Orthodox Christians. If you know only the people who belong to your diocese, know people who belong to other jurisdictions. Know the other parishes in Falls Church, in Bethesda, Silver Spring, and Alexandria, and so forth. Know about those parishes. Know about those people. There may come a day when you need to visit them. You may need some help from them, or they may need some help from you. Build those bridges and those friendships. But that is limited too, because all those people are Washingtonians. All of those people live in this magical, fantasy, make-believe world which we call the Beltway. And they don't know what it's like to live in the Rust Belt, or on the West Coast, or in Canada, or things like that. And those people have different experiences than us. Their parish life is very different. We take for granted we're a young community, we have lots of children making lots of noise, we go, oh my gosh, so many kids. But there's parishes where there's only maybe no children, some with no children. And everybody's 60, 70, and 80 years old. What is their experience? So being a part of a diocese, you actually get that second axis, which is out or vertical, whatever, perpendicular to the local. In our diocese, it's extremely diverse, actually. You say, well, it's the Romanian Episcopate, so it must be very ethnic. Well, you know, partly, but it's actually very different depending on where you go in the country. There's parishes like ours in different places of the country. There are parishes like Holy Cross or St. Anne all across the country. There are missions. There are parishes that are over 100 years old. There are parishes that are half and half, and happily so. There are parishes young and old, and new and fighting and not fighting, charitable and ingrown, you name it. And you can learn from every single one of those parishes. And the only way you do that is by going to diocesan events and meeting people and making those relationships and encountering them and realizing, wow, I didn't realize it, but I am kind of an Episcopate person too, because they have some experiences much like mine, even at St. Mary's. We share something together, a certain spirit perhaps of hospitality, a certain spirit of love of our country, a certain spirit of desire to see Orthodoxy grow. This is something across our entire diocese. If you can get a chance to go to the Vatra, I really recommend that you do so. You may think, well, it's in Michigan, I don't know what it's about. This is a great time to go. It's so hot here and it's so nice there. Summer Michigan is beautiful. But also, you know, Even if you think, well, I don't know, because if that's maybe for Romanian people, or you think that, but I'll tell you, there's nothing more American than the Vajra. It is the quintessential story of Americana, of a group of people who traveled against incredible difficulties and came to this country and established their own home and made their own life and built beautiful things and created a community in America for the American dream. Every day at summer camp, we raise the flags, we sing the Star-Spangled Banner, we sing God Bless America. It is the most patriotic place I've ever been to. You walk away with the love of your country, and you also grow with the love of Canada and Romania, because those are the countries that are represented. But you respect nations, you respect your history. You discover the struggles against communism that our forefathers went through, how they had to fight even in this country against the machinations of the Communist Party in Bucharest. That's a story that needs to be remembered and told over and over again. And it's a valuable experience to go to Vajra and soak that in, the heroism of that time as well. So you'll get a lot if you go. The third thing I'd like to share, and I have 4 total, is that sometimes, and this is back to doing with kids, sometimes the little devils are the biggest angels. And this is not just saying what I was saying before about the troublesome kids. But, you know, there's almost always a kid there who is, you know, honestly is not getting what they need at home. And they come to camp and it's like a massive decompression for them. Because for the first time in their life, they're being exposed to structure and discipline in a positive way, not abuse, but organization, principles. And they start telling you about their life, and they start telling the other kids about the life that they live at home, and they think, wow, this kid is a demon child. And they believe it. They think that. They think that they are devil's children. And they come to camp, and they don't know that there is hope for them. There was one kid, one of the youngest kids, it was a 10-year-old girl at camp, that everyone told me, oh, she's a demon child. She's crazy. You should see what she talks about. You know, and she said a little bit about those things to me, but you know what? She sat down with me and she came to me more than once and said, Father, will you tell me some more stories? Will you tell me about the Bible? Nobody was telling her about how much God loved her. Nobody was telling her at home that she was a child of God, that she was a blessed child of God. I didn't get the chance to tell her that expressly at the end of camp because her parents came to whisk her away early. They didn't even stay for lunch. Not surprising. They weren't really interested in the whole church angle. But one of the things I did in the class, and I'll do it here today, is I asked them a question, because you teach a class and, you know, we start and we think that people have a basic understanding sometimes, and they don't. You know, I asked them, could you define the word redemption? And the kids are... We want to talk to them about liturgy and icons and baptism, and they don't know what the redemption means. First things first is what we have to do. And so I asked them a question. Well, first I said this, and I'll ask you to do the same. Repeat after me. I am a blessed child of God.
I am a blessed child of God.
How many of you believe that? How many of you don't believe that? Okay, the ones of you who didn't raise your hand the first time should raise your hand now. Some of those kids raised their hand the second time. They don't know. They have never been told. It's never been revealed to them that they are blessed children of God. And some of you do not realize that you are blessed children of God. Still. Man, what's the point of talking about how interesting the liturgy is designed, or how meaningful icons are, or how deep and beautiful the baptismal service is, if you don't know that you are a blessed child of God? That's what you need to know. That's what I want to tell you too. The last lesson is prayer, 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 prayer. 2 weeks, those kids were at Camp Vajra. There's 2 different camps, 2 weeks each. Every single day they go to church twice, at least. Morning and evening prayers. And it's like basically a short Vespers and a what we call typica, or like a short matins type of thing. Liturgy without the Eucharist. Then, not only do they have that, they pray at every meal. They pray before bed. They go now, we have 2 monasteries in Michigan, so they go to visit each monastery. They went to one feast at the Ascension Monastery, and on the Transfiguration they went to Holy Dormition Monastery. Spent the whole day there pretty much. Got to see a beautiful church and pray with nuns and experience that. On top of that, we had special services. They got to go to the cemetery. They did Pedestas. They did Pedestas in front of Winston's grave. And they told them, because Winston was a camper, one of our kids, who's now in the cemetery. And all the other services, they do so much. Your kids will never pray so much as they do when they go to church camp. You, if you go, will never pray as much in your life as when you go to church camp. It is so good for your soul, I cannot tell you enough. Maybe some of us have had the good opportunity to do like a spiritual intensive, a week-long workshop somewhere. Maybe we went to pilgrimage in a monastery. This will rock all. This will do that for you, and then some. It will give you the opportunity, if you're a child, to experience the fullness of the church, the fullness of the faith, with people that are your own age. And if you're an adult, it will give you a chance to be strengthened as a parent, strengthened as a mentor. It will give you the skills and tools to be a missionary. Because that's a mission field. And the harvest is white and ripe and ready for your harvesting. But the Lord needs laborers. The Lord needs you to be involved. You can do all of these things. You can participate on all these levels. Maybe you can't yourself go to summer camp. Maybe your job will not let you take that 9-hour driving back to Michigan for a week or 2. But you can support camps. You can send kids. You can send your kids. You can send your godchildren. You can send scholarships. So kids like that little Hellion child could end up going there and finding out that she's a blessed child of God. So I really encourage you, anything you can do. Either it's Camp Vatra, and I love Camp Vatra, and I support it wholeheartedly, but I also love all the other camps, Antiochian Village and St. Tikhon's and Camp Nazareth and so forth. They're all good. But I really hope that next year, maybe some of you will be willing to go with me, and we'll make it a mission trip. And we'll go and we'll spend time with those kids, and you'll see some real blessings for yourself as well as for them, and you'll realize what it means to be part of the whole Church of Christ, not just St. Mary's. So God bless you. Through the prayers of our Holy Fathers, Lord Jesus Christ our God, have mercy on us and save us. Amen.